Okay, well, I think we could start the meeting even though it's 30 seconds in advance, I think, since it looks like we're all here. We have obviously kind of a short agenda, but we maybe can talk just a few minutes and we get to other business just on some of our thoughts about having a work session maybe next time. Just need to approve the minutes from last meeting, if I could have a
I
motion.
move approval of the 27 September minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have disbursements that are in your packet. Anybody have any questions on those or a motion?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that wraps up all of the agenda on our business. I think Chris, our Parks liaison, is here. He was not at the last Parks meeting, so not really an update from them, I think is accurate. Any other business that any of the commissioners have? Otherwise, in your packet, we do have some background materials. Last meeting, we had talked about maybe moving forward with rethinking our strategic plan, and so there is information on the last time that we did this. And so there's no action to be taken or anything this time, obviously, but this maybe gives us something to kind of look back on. We had gone through a visioning process, a strategic planning process that was pretty thorough last time, kind of gave us a chance to stop and ask ourselves what was it we thought the commission should be tasked with doing. And so you can see kind of the list of guiding the goals. Let's see, where were they? The core value statement, the vision statement, the mission statement. Obviously all very focused on the riverfront and what we feel like the commission should be doing for that. And then we had strategies that we had developed, and you can see on the page with the Venn diagram kind of how we had come up, at least with the governance part of it. We got through that, and I think that was actually pretty effective. And then COVID hit, and we kind of stalled out. No more in-person meetings, so the collaboration that we had been going down the path with City Council on kind of was on hiatus. So I guess for next meeting, I'd propose that maybe we plan a work session, and maybe we think through some big questions after, people have a chance to really maybe study some of this information and think about, as a commission, do we have a single focus? Do we have multiple focuses? Are we operational? Are we strategic? Is it a combination of those? Ought we have perhaps commissioners maybe assigned or volunteered to work in particular areas? Maybe there's somebody that feels really strongly about operations and they want to really be involved in the oversight of staff on that, and working on the leases and some of that kind of stuff. And there are others who are perhaps have skill sets that have to do with environmental stuff, and they want to maybe work on the partnership with the Corps. Maybe you've got folks like Bill Churchill has been very active in the Veterans Memorial Park. Maybe we've got people who have an interest in that. And should we think about maybe as commissioners lining up with some of those types of things and maybe having a little more strategic focus alongside the operational oversight? Those are just some general thoughts, some general ideas. I think there are a lot of opportunities that we can think through, and maybe having a work session where we're down around a table and it feels a little less formal would be easier for us to have some free-flowing conversation about that and some planning. So I just throw that out there for any thoughts as we think about how we maybe want to do that next meeting. Dee, go ahead.
I agree with you. It's been a while since I pulled out our strategic plan, and I'm thinking that we did that maybe 3 months after I came on the commission, and it took us a while, but at that point in time, we were maybe a little over 50% leased. And we had a lot of vacancies, and we're really having difficulty in that regard. We really didn't know our role. We had kind of stepping on our feet, in the council's feet with leases and those kinds of things. The ordinance had just been set. So when I look at this, I think a lot of this was getting to understand ourselves, getting to that governance model. And I think what we need to look at now is at those bubbles and determine kind of where we belong in our understanding. I think if I said the commission would cease today, what would happen? And I think there is the impetus of this commission, one, to keep some things alive and on the front burner. We spent a year at programming. I think we focused on that. I think that's something that we need to continue to do. But we have other, we have other things on the list, and we have inched toward those. We've inched toward, with actually the city council's flood planning, Credit Island, and looking at Blackhawk Creek. We've inched toward it by having a relationship now with the Corps. We've done a lot at making Heritage Park happen as we wanted to have it happen, and get those sidewalks extended. And so there are lots of things that we've done that I think follow this, but we are now also kind of at a standstill of what's the next piece forward. How do we get River West more in focus? How do we become yet a good partner with things between Credit Island and the downtown? And really, how do we become a partner with the landing, Main Street Landing, and what happens after Main Street Landing in terms of taking care of it and making sure we have funding to make it work and be that level it needs to be. I mean, the council clearly can, and this is what I loved. When I worked for the city, we can always fund wonderful things. The difficulty is maintaining and keeping it to the caliber we expect, giving all the odds against us. And down there, one of the biggest odds is weather, and how to keep things fresh. So I think it's time to kind of get around the table. We have enough new members to kind of recreate who we want to be.
Yeah, I think that's really good input. Any other thoughts, questions? So, yeah, I think it's really good for us to all think about, why did you agree to be on the commission? What led you to think this would be a worthy use of your time? And that being the case, are we doing any of those things that you thought you were signing up for? And if not, should we be? And maybe just reinvigorate a little bit actually what the role of commissioners ought to be individually and collectively.
Yeah, for me, I think we obviously, as a commission, we've agreed to do this and do whatever we think is our agenda, what our role is in the Riverfront Improvement Commission. And I think the other part of the equation, though, that still mystifies me is, where do we stand in the eyes of the city? And do they value anything that we come up with? Are we just kind of treading water on whatever we see or recommend or think that should happen? Where does it go from here? And so that's the biggest thing for me, is to feel like whatever we do and the time we spend as a commission, is that valued? Does it have any bearing on what happens on the riverfront? That's the biggest thing for me, and I think that's a big question mark that I have, is to, I think we're all willing to put the time in and do what we need to do, but I like to feel like we're being valued, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that Venn diagram was a good sort of visual of how we sort of contemplated, and I think had good conversation between commissioners and city council at the time about what that relationship was like, and starting to figure out whose lane was what. And so I think restarting those conversations probably has a lot of value. Any other thoughts? I know this is an exceedingly quick meeting. Okay. Any other business? Do we have public with business? I don't know if we. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Bill. Okay.
I was assigned to be on the operating CIP budgets to help us all understand it. And the person on there was Pat Walden. So I need somebody that replaced Pat.
Yeah. As you're looking through that historically, yep. Yeah, well, and I think,
Kelly, I think we did all the ranking right, and so I'm not sure when the submittal is for, maybe it already happened. It's November, so I'm thinking it might be this month or just happened, and I don't know, maybe you can check if ours got in the order that our things that we wanted got submitted. They're pretty much, they're known, I don't think there's any new ones, really. There might just have been a little change of what we prioritized.
okay. Well, that is the end of our agenda. So we have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right. And then our next meeting, Bruce, refresh my memory. We need to be at the police department next time because there's something going on here. So just, and we'll send a reminder out just before the meeting so people are reminded again, but we will not be in our normal location, which actually that room is pretty good for having work session anyway, more so than this room. So that is a happy coincidence, I would say.
That's where we formulated all this.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.